4AD, baby. Been hunting this bear all week.
I grunted at him. He come running back in. We just smoked another giant.
Just an absolute giant. Lifetime bull for me.
Team 200 is presented by MoonGuide. Plan your best hunt.
I ended up picking up a shed March 2nd of 2012. You know, right before I picked up that shed, I got a phone call from my dad who got me into hunting, and he told me that my Uncle Gabe had just got killed. You know, my dad got me into hunting. He's the one that planted the seed, but when it came to pursuing mature whitetails, you know, I would go to Gabe's house, we'd sit around, talk about killing big deer, hunting big deer. So I really wanted to kill Elvis and dedicate that hunt to him. After I'd picked up the big shed, I went ahead and started getting all my food plots put in. I got all my imperial whitetail clover planted. A lot of my food plots, my clover and my chicory, are already established, so I'm spraying those with the arrest and the sleigh. Midsummer rolls around, I'm checking on my coverts, and he finally shows up, and I'm just totally blown away with this deer. He's a giant, typical 5x6. He's got a little bit of trash, but I think this deer is gonna push 190 or 200. Now it was time to really dig in and figure out how he was using the farm. I ended up throwing about 9 to 13 cameras up around the farm to figure out what he was doing. And I was picking this deer up everywhere, and there was really no pattern to him. One thing that was consistent with this deer is he never moved in the daylight hours. It's mid-December. I had a pretty good idea what cornfield this deer was going to, so I got in early, set up over the corn. I had some deer moving in front of me. Right at last light, there's about 15 minutes of camera light left, and I look out in the cornfield, and he had just stepped out into the edge of the corn.
We're about to lose camera light.
He ends up coming in the 9 yards broadside, and he's standing there watching some deer that are inside the woods, and he's right on the edge. And I'm basically filming this deer in low light through the camera. But at this point, I decided to pass the deer. I got lucky that evening. The coyotes started howling. They ended up clearing the whole field. I got down. I got out of there without disturbing anything, so I knew I was going to get another shot at this deer, or at least I thought I was going to.
I can't believe it. We've got a giant deer on the ground. By far the biggest buck I've ever killed.
And I had his onyx pointed. He didn't pick up anything. Gave me a 30-yard shot.
Thank God I have an Ozonics.
Start seeing more deer more often and closer than you ever thought possible with Ozonics. Ozonics is the only product that actively and continually attacks game spooking odor in the downwind airstream during your entire hunt, allowing you to beat an animal's #1 defense, its nose.
I ended up in 2012 not even laying eyes on that buck again. I already know going into 13 this is the deer I'm gonna hunt, so I'm getting my coverts back up and we're gonna relocate Elvis. The spring of 2013 came and gone. Food plots are in, everything's sprayed. Now it's time to get the coverts up. I've got them all up on the same, kind of the same general area that I had them the year before to try to locate Elvis. Let him sit for 2 or 3 weeks, went in to check him. There he is. He's on 2 or 3 different cameras. The only thing different this year from last year is now he's a typical 6x7. With stickers, his drop got bigger. At this point, there is absolutely no question that this deer is going to be way north of 200 inches. It's one thing to be hunting giant deer, but whenever you have a true giant, typical 200-inch deer living on your farm, it's priceless. It just almost takes your breath away when you check your camera and have an animal of this magnitude that you're going to hunt this season. You know, most of your shots you're going to get are going to come in low light situations. Right here at sunset, we've got our rage practice tips on. We're going to throw a couple dozen arrows downrange and get ready for season. At this point, he's doing exactly what he did last year. Everything's at night, but I was dying to get some velvet footage of this deer. So I basically stayed out. I wasn't checking any cameras. I was giving this deer all the room that he needed. But I knew when I got the first red moon and a good wind, I was pretty sure I knew where this deer was feeding.
It's probably a really good thing. Originally, we were gonna sit over there, but the wind is out of the northeast, so I came to the other side of the field. It was a lot longer walk in, but those deer are gonna walk straight to where, pretty close to where we were gonna sit. So, hopefully Elvis or the brow-tine buck come out. We get a little bit of pre-roll of them. I want to get a really good look at them, and then we'll probably just get out of here, set some stands, and pull our cameras and stay completely out till season rolls in. But it's still really early. The low tonight is 49 degrees, and it is August the 15th or something. It's crazy.
I got in early, was sitting there. I think I was actually texting Randy on the phone, and I just looked up and Elvis was standing 35 yards in this bean field, feeding right in front of me, a 210-inch typical deer, full velvet, standing 35 yards in front of me. Smelling us. The wind was swirling right there in that corner. He came out tonight with the wind at his back, which that's what he did last year. Sometimes. So just trying to put some of the pieces to the puzzle together, and that's what you got to do on these big deer. You can't just show up and expect to kill them. That's a 200+ inch deer right there. He's a typical 6x7 with a drop that makes him a 7x7, extremely heavy. He is just a freaking stud. So obviously that's the #1 buck on our hit list.
While other companies add preservatives and or water to their products, all raw frozen scents are 100% pure.
Well, I just took some raw 30+ estrus and freshened up this mock scrape I've got here.
When preservatives are added to ward off decomposition or when scents are diluted with water, both of these commonly used practices can actually change the scent's profile, making it less than desirable to deer. You as a hunter might not be able to detect the difference, but deer certainly can.
Put on some raw 30 plus estrus. I mean, I really doused it, and then just exposing that dirt, you know, will really draw their attention too.
Raw frozen scents are 100% pure and frozen to preserve their freshness. Nothing is added, nothing.
Just trying to put some of the pieces to the puzzle together, and that's what you gotta do on these big deer. You can't just show up and expect to kill them.
The night I saw Elvis in the bean field, I learned a couple things. One, he was using the wind. Two, he was using the red moon. And whenever he spooked from the pressure in that bean field, I knew what his escape route was. So I knew the MoonGuide was going to play a key role in killing Elvis. So I knew what stand I was going to go to when season rolled around, and I ended up not laying eyes on Elvis till November the 14th.
For whatever reason, it has been absolutely dead.
About 1:30 in the afternoon, I caught movement to my left and looked over, and a little basket rack was kind of dogging a doe through the woods. So I stood up and I was filming this basket rack dogging this doe, and for some reason I just happened to turn around behind me, and Elvis is 35 yards running straight at my tree, past my tree. I don't even think I got the camera swung around.
Got another buck right here. Elvis just ran right underneath the tree. I mean, right underneath the tree, and stopped.
I hear something behind me. I turn around and there are dogs in the woods chasing deer.
And the frustration continues. We've been in here all day. That's probably why Elvis is nocturnal.
I ended up hunting extremely hard for that deer the rest of the season. I sat on stand for 13 days, 14 days in a row, from daylight to dark. Every day, the dogs would come in that woods from somewhere between 10:30 and 2:30, and then they would leave. I had no idea where the deer were at. I was seeing some little deer. The dogs were basically screwing up the whole woods, and I ended up finishing the season without laying eyes on Elvis again.
Whenever you start hunting one single deer, it can be frustrating as heck.
After locating him in 2014, a couple things had changed. He wasn't using the north part of the farm anymore. His core area, basically, from what I could tell, shrunk down to possibly even 10 acres. But then in September, he did something that he hasn't done in the last 3 years. He started daylighting in a food plot that I had. So at this point, I know where I'm hanging my lone wolves. So I go in early, midday, and I get a couple stands out, and I'm basically not checking cameras. I'm staying out, I'm waiting for the wind and the red moon, and I'm going in early to try to kill this deer.
For over 2 decades, the MoonGuide has been the #1 rated tool for serious hunters, telling you when giant whitetails will move and where you need to hunt. Now, you can accurately predict the best days and times to catch a big buck moving during daylight with the Deer Hunter's MoonGuide. Are you tired of hunting nocturnal trail camera bucks? Do you ever wonder why some bucks only show up during daylight on certain days each year? The Deer Hunter's MoonGuide is here to help, and it's unlike any other lunar tool you've ever seen. For effective preseason scouting, scheduling time off work, planning out-of-state hunts, and increasing your overall hunting success, simply check the MoonGuide's calendar to find the best day days, times, and hunting locations to catch a mature deer on his feet during daylight hours. The MoonGuide is now available as a mobile app too, giving you exclusive tips from the pros, local weather, the rut guide, exclusive discounts, and the deadly red moon data. Plan your best hunt at MoonGuide.com.
Well, it's October the 15th, and we're in the stand really early. We've got a good red moon tonight.
Peak activity times for this hunt brought to you by MoonGuide.com.
We're really going to put the game high to the test tonight because it's going to rain. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of if it stops before dark.
Got the Evercalm out, the Ozonics is running. I started getting some does out in the food plot. They come and go. I look down at my camera. I've got a couple minutes of camera light left. Elvis steps out of the corner of the woods into the bean plot. When I looked down at my camera and realized I was out of camera light, but I still had about 5 minutes of legal shooting light, you know, I made the decision I was going to kill this deer off of film. Well, we just got back to the truck. I'm not gonna sit here and make a story up. There's just absolutely no way I was gonna pass him. I shot Elvis. I heard him crash about 50 yards inside the woods. And I cannot wait to get my hands on this deer. And watch that Black Eagle arrow with the Luminoc zip through him and watched him turn, run, and I could hear him crash 30 yards inside the woods. It's time to get down now and go put my hands on what I think is going to be a 225, 230-inch deer that I've hunted the last 3 years. I've got almost 600-700 hours in the tree stand hunting this deer. It's time to finally get my hands on Elvis.
Oh, holy cow. Oh, man.
Sometimes there's not even words to describe what the last 3 years were for me and my family. We talked about Elvis at supper time. You know, the kids knew when I went out to hunt for the last 3 years, I was going to Graceland and I was hunting Elvis. I'm absolutely speechless right now. You know, I was faced with a very tough decision tonight. Some guys say it's probably not, but you know, when you got a group of guys trying to put a TV show together, and you got a bunch of sponsors counting on you to put this deer on the ground on film, and you end up shooting him off film, you know, you don't know if everybody's gonna be disappointed in you. And I knew right then, once he started walking to me, that I was either gonna shoot him off of camera, or he was going to go by me and he was going to get my wind, and it's pretty much the season was going to be over. If there's ever been a deer that I've hunted that I've wanted to shoot on film, it was this deer. For whatever reason, it just never worked out. This hunt is in the memory of my Uncle Gerald. Everybody knows him as Gabe. I passed him 2 years ago because of low camera light, and I just decided this year, when I was put in that position, that I just couldn't afford to pass this deer again and not get another opportunity at him. You know, he's a world-class animal in my eyes. He's going to be right around 220 gross. Just a typical 6x7 with stickers. An awesome animal. I feel truly blessed to even share the same woods with an animal like this.